Vlad Ethereum Classic.
Welcome back, gentlemen, to Capital Gentlemen. It's your host, Vlad Ethereum, and today we're going to be covering a few things. What's going on recently with Bonk, as we covered that in a post a couple weeks ago. What's happening on Solana with the recent upcoming airdrops, airdrop that's already happened. Some of the technical volume factors like DEX volume, active addresses. Some bullish news there for the trending things required in order for us to see rising use case in Solana, and in correlation to that use case, more onboarding, more users, more liquidity, more volume, things that would be bullish for the price as we go into the bull market in 2024 and 2025. What is that price action dependent on? As we're going to cover the Bitcoin TA and some short term and long term things for Solana's price action that can either push us forward or hold us back. So it's your host Vlad Ethereum, and we're going to go into all these things today. Um, just real quick, make sure you follow Capital Gentleman. It's Twitter here. Um, Kind of doing like a double take. I'm recording on YouTube at the same time as I make this video, so I'll link the YouTube video in the down below if for some reason you'd rather watch there, but it's gonna be the same kind of audio. Anyways, so I just want to go into the Bonk news. So Bonk basically as far as I know, the way I don't necessarily know like ultra specifics on the way it started, but I know it came out as an airdrop to XYZ holders. They provided a lot of liquidity at Solana's basically Pico bottom and shit, and that helped. From what I've heard, helped keep a lot of projects alive. So, and they're also integrated with some really uh okay, I say okay projects. I heard something about like Hero Token. I'm not totally sure what that project is, but I know there's going to be an upcoming airdrop for Hero Token. If you are a bond holder, they already did the snapshot. So, I'll be getting some of those tokens. But I do know this: if you want to sell the tokens, you're not going to be able to. They're going to have to be vested out over a year period. But honestly, as soon as I get those tokens, what I'm going to do, I'm going to move my bonk into a new wallet so that just in case if there's some, because I'm not trying to like just based off my experience on Ethereum, you interact with the wrong shit one time, you're fucked. So I'm gonna be moving over my bonk to a new wallet, doing what I need to do with Hero or whatever, and probably just separating the two and having that shit get vested out. If it's a lot of tokens, if it's not, I'm probably not gonna care. But um, yeah, that's kind of what that. We've had bonk listed on perpetual futures on Binance, and that's kind of all right, guys. Just a brief interruption for some news that came out after this video was made. So Bonk is now available for spot trading on KuCoin exchange, one of the leading exchanges after Coinbase and Binance in the current markets. This would also be bullish for the long term price action of Bonk, just because some of the mainstream volume from KuCoin would be invited into this pair. And not only that, this also incentivizes other exchanges to list Bonk in the future so they don't miss out on the volume of Bonk once it gets into the billions of dollars. So I think in the long run, that'll be bullish for the price action. And not only that, later that we'll discuss in this video, the triangle that I covered for the pattern on Bitcoin, ascending triangle, did break to the upside, and is now in play as long as we get confirmation on 4 hour to 8 hour to 12 hour to daily close above the 38K level. So that's kind of it for the short term brief interruption, and let's get back to the video. Of a big deal in my opinion, because a lot of these other narratives with meme coins, um they're also like for them to get to these $1 billion valuations that they want, and I say the only people that can really compete that haven't been listed in such a direct manner would be like ticker Bitcoin on Ethereum with the Harry Potter Obama Sonic Teninu, and currently us, right? But I say unless there's some perpetual futures that I don't know listed on a main exchange for Harry Potter Obama Sonic Teninu, like I'd say Bonk is really killing it right now. With the marketing, with the narrative, getting everybody basically super fucking bullish just for the fuck's sake, right? Because that's all it is. It's only a meme. I mean, they do have a bit of vesting that I have to look into, but I don't think super like I think it's going to be good for the price action because the more that we get out sooner, although it's on the vested schedule, short term it could have some slowdown, but on the longer term that's going to be better because we're not going to be having these large vests out at the top or in 2025, and that could be something that could create resistance. So the sooner that gets handled, I'd say the better. But I'm not too worried on it because I mean, if we're looking at total three hitting new highs, maybe heading towards 2, 3, 4, maybe even like I say, yeah, 2, 3, 4 trillion on total three. If Bitcoin can carry up, and then that as a catalyst, total one will be maybe like 9, 10, 7, 8, 6 trillion at the top or near the top on its ride up. That could be a bullish catalyst for trickle down effects, as we know with Bitcoin pumps, then Bitcoin consolidates and ETH pumps, then ETH consolidates, and then that shit trickles down to what's it called? Large cap alts, and then micro cap alts. But the case with Bonk is a bit different, as I've discovered, like not even recently, a while ago, like maybe like 2 weeks ago, and as I covered in a more recent video on Bonk, it's sort of correlated to Solana, but something that recently happened when it hit its all-time high, Solana was consolidating. So honestly, we're seeing overperformance on Solana's run-ups. Obviously, that's compensated for more downturn as Solana drops. But as we seen consolidation, on Solana equate to Bonk possibly hitting continuation. I mean, it could also do the same thing in reverse, right? But I mean that is something to pay attention to. Now, besides that, I know Bonk is listed on 100x on Rollbit. I don't know if that's super bullish, but I mean, I guess more attention that can be used, right? I say if we just dive into some sentiment on Bonk real quick, because what I've been seeing with Bonk, um, like Bobby, the ape guy, he's bullish on it. I mean, not a surprise. A lot of other people, I'm seeing people with like 150K bags in this shit that aren't selling. So I mean, that's pretty bullish. And to say it's not, like it really is. Like I mean, granted that they have 150K in it now, you might think they'll sell off at 1 bill, and I say at 1 bill we could very well see a short term sell off. Maybe it even drops 50%. But I'd say going from these prices now to 1 bill is harder than 1 bill to 10 bill. Um, I mean, it's overall just like it's a pretty okay meme. I'm not gonna sit here and be like it's super fucking funny, but I mean, whales are scooping this shit up when it drops. People want to buy. I mean, if you look here, you're seeing it being supported with thousands of dollars, and the average person doesn't just have thousands of dollars to throw into meme coins and shit, right? Um, I'm trying to find some other stuff. That had some other analysis that I want to get into. From what I can remember, it was essentially correlated to obviously what Sheeb and Doge did. Um, and if we kind of see the same thing play out, like we're gonna assume that it'll be multi-billion-dollar valuations, but you can't just base it on Sheep and Doge. You got to base it on the liquidity of our own chain because Doge is its own chain. Sheep was dependent on Ethereum, so it's more similar to like a Sheep situation where you're dependent on on Solana TVL and total market cap in order for that same liquidity to trickle back into the token. And right now, it is kind of the mainstream meme coin. And if it continues to maintain that spot, let's just say we see Solana at 185 billion or even 130 billion. I would say if it goes to 185, maybe like 50 to 60 bill worth of TVL got to at that point because that's what's attracting the liquidity for the Sol token. And then on top of that, let's just say it goes to 130, okay, maybe 30, 40, 40 billion total locked, total value locked. But if we see that as the case, with 130 billion being like the lowest to 180 being the highest, I say you're potentially looking at like a 10 bill minimum way before that. But I think if you're really trying to be ballsy, obviously DCA out, not financial advice, but like maybe 20 bill. We don't have to hit fucking 40 bill, but like if Solana really does get up there, yes, I'd say, and it hits like mainstream. We get like a Coinbase listing in there. We get a spot Binance listing in there. Then okay, maybe 40 bill at the top of the fucking Pico bull run. I don't even know what the fuck Pico means, but that's just a fucking term. Anyways, moving on from Bonk and shit. I mean, people are just ultra bullish on it. I mean, we got some long term players. I think it's a pretty key play, especially when you're looking at it in terms of like, okay, its market cap is higher than a lot of these other legitimate protocols on Solana. Like Helium, it's not higher, but it's half as much. And it's like, okay, if it's half as much as a legitimate protocol, doesn't that validate it more as a meme coin? And I think in that case, yes. Um, Moving on with the Pyth airdrop. I mean, it's just kind of like a Oracle competitor with Chainlink. If you didn't know, I mean, I don't necessarily know that much about how it works, but I think if it takes a market share, I mean, depending on how much market share it takes, and the actual setup of the network system and being an Oracle, I think if they do that well, um, since I think Solana, I mean, not Solana, I think Chainlink is a bit more Ethereum focused. So if they're trying to capitalize on them being a bit more Ethereum focused, even though they're multi chain, then I think they could kind of come in, take that market share a little bit, maybe not all the way. But I mean, from what I've heard past history with oracles, is that a lot of them they try to compete with Chainlink and they fuck up. Maybe that's true, but we have to see it play out here because it's such a recent narrative. We had to give it time to mature. Upcoming Jupiter airdrop. I mean, they already did a snapshot. We already know about that shit. You had to qualify with certain amounts of volume. Blah blah blah. I mean, even if you don't qualify, I mean, technically, I feel like if you compare it to something like what's it called, uni, or like 1 inch, like if you're looking at, like, obviously people are going to sell off for first. What we usually see, airdrop, sell off, consolidation. um but if you're trying to compare it with something like that, like a dex token, I think honestly it's better than, like, I mean, honestly, I mean, the fees are pretty low. The way it aggregates your swap is pretty good. I think that if it is going to be the leading dex in the bull run, we could see, Jupiter, Jupe, or whatever, be a leading dex token in market share on the Solana blockchain. That's just kind of like game theory, but I mean, I haven't looked into the total, like, how much market share they have now. I haven't looked into that, but it is something to look into to see how much percentage they own, and then kind of correlate that to where could their market share be placed with the token, um, in terms of like them versus Orca, right? Because that's, I say, would be one of the mainstream competitors. I mean, other small news. I mean, maybe hopefully Margin Fi comes out with the token, but I heard that might fuck up their TVL, so I don't know how that's gonna go all the way. But past that, Solana active addresses on an uptrend, active wallets on an uptrend, higher lows, higher highs, on a monthly time frame. Coming in, let's say peak out on the 16th at 83,000 for that day. So that's pretty good. And then your lowest as of recently from the beginning of the month, really 20K, but I mean we haven't hit those lows in a minute. 28, say recent lows on that. So that's good for us because if we're seeing like 80K tops and we only have a $25 billion valuation, we're probably going to be seeing, well, no, not even probably, we're going to be seeing millions of daily active users, or if it, or at the bare minimum, at least not in the like maybe like six figures range on a daily basis, especially with all that total value locked that we're gonna be having on an uptrend and all these apps and shit. And obviously just people wanting to invest in the token. So I'm looking forward to that metric increasing. Some people say it's not relevant. I don't understand how it's not relevant if you're going to be looking at these same users being divided amongst all these DEX platforms. I mean, you could make the argument whether it's really the bigger liquidity players, but if this is supposed to be the consumer blockchain narrative that we kind of got on here, we want to be seeing yes, whales come in, but we want to be seeing as many active users as possible because obviously whales are going to be the ones that can afford to pay regular ass fees and have their transaction go through. But we want to be seeing a larger consumer basis take advantage of the low fees so that, I mean, you're taking that market share. I mean, that's the entire fucking point of having low ass fees. You appeal to the common man. So that's why I think it is a relevant metric. Um, but moving on to the Bitcoin TA, to that, um, we'll start off with something like the let's hold on. I have to get into the right fucking chart. Which okay, we'll start off on the 2 week, and then we're gonna go which chart was it? Okay, right here. So 2 week time frame. Let's just look. We're not quite oversold on the RSI, but we are on an RSI uptrend, so that's pretty good. Um, bullish continuation, but that's 2 week. Just take some time to play out lagging indicators. But I'd say something more relevant on the 2 week time frame would be the 2 week Gaussian channel, and if we can turn that into support and eventually flip this green, I'd say that'd be pretty damn bullish for outlook on when does the bull market start. In my opinion, it kind of already has, because in my opinion most bottoms are in. So if you're going off that, it's not necessarily saying that we're going to be hitting all this momentum again and again, like we could consolidate here, right? But I'm saying for most of these tokens, it's clear that the bottoms are fucking in. Like something catastrophic would have to happen for us to make new lows and shit on a lot of these altcoins, in my opinion. It's not to say that they're going to outperform Bitcoin until the halving, or even for majority of next year. It's not going to say that they're going to keep repeating that same behavior that we've seen recently. I mean, they might not. It really depends on how much liquidity comes in the total three. But the point I'm making is, if we're counting the fact of a bottom being in for most of these tokens, then you're looking at a shift at a bare minimum. I mean, once you come up so high from accumulation phase, I think you got to kind of flip from accumulation to bear. I mean to bull, not bear. Or at the bare minimum, you have to have flipped from bearish to accumulation, because if the bottom is in, then it means it's not going to be going any lower. And if you've been tracking this shit for the past 2 years, that means you need to have been buying in accumulation ranges. If you're not one of those guys where you're like, okay, Bitcoin's going to outperform towards the halving, because in my opinion, yes, it might outperform by the halving, but if you're still not taking into account, I mean, fuck, for some of these tokens, that's not even the case anymore, right? Like Solana is damn near on same par, and like if you look at some shit like Injective Protocol, which I think it started off at $1, I wasn't really giving a fuck about alts at the beginning of this year, but you're looking at, for those that were, you're looking at plays like that. If you can kind of find in those plays where you can squeeze in, um, I guess like what's it called? Uh, um, I mean, good. I say good fundamentals in combination with good market share takeover. Then you're not going to be looking at trading your Bitcoin for these altcoins at good prices when they're already up more than your Bitcoin did based upon outperformance. So really, you should have been buying some of these. Um, it kind of depends on your take on that. I think, in my opinion, altcoin accumulation isn't that bad. You just have to know the risks associated with it, like potential underperformance or or you could potentially, be in Bitcoin and then wait. It really depends on the structure setup. But for certain plays that we've seen right now, if Solana was still $24, I mean, we could make the argument that it could be, a better play to still wait in Bitcoin if it were these same levels, but that's simply not the case right now. It was simply just a better idea to have accumulated all year, because we're not going to be seeing $24 Solana anytime fucking soon. Um, but yeah, if we can see from the March 2022 high down to the low, we put a Fibonacci retracement tool down, and we could be turning the 61.8 as support on a 2 week time frame within the Gaussian channel. So if that happens, then I would say we could see continuation. But honestly, that we're gonna get into how we're gonna break out in a minute, and if we don't break out, what's the targets, right? Which obviously we're kind of in a countdown, but that's based upon what I'm gonna cover later. Besides that, on the 2 week time frame, we have a bigger range of of support flipped as resistance, that we kind of need to break through. A larger range from, just from when we broke down in the 2022 downtrend, all the way from 38K to 48K. That's a range that we could basically it's not I'd say that's that's a range. It's not necessarily like a gap or anything, but it was failed support, so it's reasonable to say that it's resistance that we need to turn back into support over time. That's a range, obviously, to keep track of, but beyond that, you're not looking at much resistance. So I say maybe we get beyond that towards the halving, or maybe post halving. Um, if we're going to be looking towards all time highs, like obviously it's going to be kind of a bitch, in my opinion, to get past this range. Um, yeah, but that's just on the 2 week time frame. That's going to take some time to play out. So moving past that, going to the daily time frame. Looking at the daily, we have an ascending triangle, um, with not necessarily a perfect sideways uh, resistance line, but more so a resistance box coming in within a range between 27.5 to 38K as our resistance range, and an uptrending support line, stemming all the way back from October. Now, what we're seeing here, as we're seeing as this plays out at the resistance range, we're seeing buyers come in at the same price level, while we're seeing sellers. No, we're seeing sellers come in at the same price range, while we're seeing buyers increasing their support for this price action, as the uptrend continues. Now, this can go one of two ways. If we just take the range, we take the range from the triangle, and you take, hold on, I gotta extend this box. Gotta extend this box. Okay, box extended. So you get the range from the triangle, and you measure out the move from basically that first I'm just gonna say high to high to the low for simplicity, but you just or no length of the triangle. That's a better way of phrasing it. But I mean, depending on how you want to draw it, whether you want to make it more consolidated based on the more recent touch points, or just technical length of the structure, um, it could you could say that okay, you could say that breakout comes in between 38K and 42K, or if you take a more consensus trade on, I guess, a lower, what's it called, lower, I guess more reasonable expectation, um and more, what's it called, a more consolidated support range, from like, I guess, if you draw the triangle, you guys on spaces can't see it, but if you draw the triangle, what's it called, fucking, you draw the triangle, what the fuck is it called, fuck, you just shorten the triangle to get the same, to do the same thing, high to the low, or length of the triangle. Shorten the triangle for more, not for more reasonable expectations. That'd be a bad explanation, but because that's a more clearer, um, definition on the start of the triangle. right? So if you take that and you put it to the breakout, you're still ending up somewhere at 40k. Now, we have at least um, we have 2 weeks. I had to check that. We have 2 weeks basically before we're gonna see any kind of breakout. Or let me, yeah, 2 weeks, maybe, yeah, 2 weeks and one day, same thing, before we see anything. So realistically, Bitcoin can keep acting like this and keep retesting this support line as long as we eventually go back and try to fight that resistance region. So besides that, if we go back to the Gaussian channel on the weekly time frame, though, um, we can see that. Hold on, daily, take this off. Daily. Okay, we can see that we've already flipped green, so that's a bullish signal. But basically, the major support and resistance that we're facing is the 38k to 40k region. So that's just kind of something we have to deal with short term. Um, I mean, I have no reason to not be bullish because we have to wait for a break to the upside or downside on this um, ascending triangle to play out. But it is a bullish pattern just because of the patterns of absorption on the seller side, uh, of selling of absorbing that bullish demand, and absorption on the support side of buyers absorbing that sell off pressure. So it's kind of a battle right now, but it is an overall uptrend higher. Um, but moving on past that, when you're looking at Solana charts, as we're seeing that correlation, so we're in a range on the daily time frame on Solana from 36, no, not 30, 68 from 40, from 68 USD to 51 USD. And I say as long as we don't break that range low, we're not really on a bearish downtrend quite yet. Um, I wouldn't see that as the case, but we can continue to chop around sideways as Bitcoin does its thing, and that has to move first in order for us, in my opinion, to see higher prices on Solana. Head and shoulders didn't quite play out, but what I want to point out here is that neckline on that rising neckline, head and shoulders, kind of did come in as resistance when we retested that. Um, so that it's not necessarily good news, but I don't see it as bad news because that's just on shorter term time frame on the 4 hour. So moving on past that daily time frame, looking at the MACD bearish continuation and RSI reset, which is what I think could be good for if we're going to see any kind of uptrend recently. We can't just stay oversold. You want to see appropriate price levels where buyers come in and place their bids. Um, so I mean, obviously RSI is a lagging indicator, so is MACD, but in correlation to the price action already playing out, if we can see correlated consolidation on the price and correlated price action, and that correlates to the RSI momentum cool down rather than going back to oversold, I'd say that's bullish for the price action of Solana, because that would also mean earlier break of the RSI on RSI downtrend on a daily time frame that we can see here. I'll just highlight real quick, just kind of like a RSI short term downtrend. Um, Bada bang, bada boom. I'd say it has to be retested a few more times, but you know, it's RSI downtrend. It's nothing like complex here. It's RSI downtrend. Moving on past that, what I want to discuss really on the weekly time frame for Solana. So if I go to something along the lines of, so what is this? This would be, so what time frame would this be on? So this, no, but this would needs to be brought back to the monthly. Fuck it. All right, so right here on Solana on the weekly time frame, we are above the Gaussian channel with no flip green. But I think in order for us to really see massive bullish continuation, we need to get past this gap range between between the nearest resistance and the more recent. Wait, no, we need to get past this gap range between a last known local zone of resistance and a known level of support once had and failed to hold. So I guess we could say resistance range, yet a gap. Uh, so the resistance coming in at a more recent price level of $60, and then a gap with basically no resistance all up until approximately 40, no, not 40, $75. Or you can look at it with the viewpoint of let me um let me get this straight. I don't know why the fuck this is here like that. I think this was supposed to be on the monthly. I don't know why the fuck. Yeah, that was weird. Anyways, or if you, I guess if you measure it out a bit differently, looking at a more extended range up to $84 as the next resistance after the gap. So, I mean, Solana can be very bullish right now if we see it follow Bitcoin, which it already has been doing. But if Bitcoin moves, I would expect to see this gap get filled, in my opinion. Because even though Bitcoin is going to be fighting a gap, if we see 40K and well, basically we see the target get hit on the ascending triangle, we're gonna see bullish momentum get carried through, obviously, through most of the alts as they continue to follow, unless that trend changes where liquidity is getting displaced. But we're not even gonna get into that shit right now. But yeah, basically resistance gap, nearest resistance $60. If we see Bitcoin hit continuation, I'm expecting to see anywhere from between $60 to $84, or more conservatively 60 to 75, if Bitcoin can hit that breakout. But overall bullish, looking towards the halving. I'd say that it's good for Solana price action to be above the Gaussian channel on the weekly time frame, even though we haven't seen a flip green. We're establishing basically a new trend, right? Because Solana hasn't been through a bear market like it has, and we haven't seen a Gaussian channel breakout like this on a weekly time frame in Solana's price history, at least from what I can tell on the weekly time frame. Yeah, it's just something new that's playing out. So it's something interesting to take note of. Um, it's just kind of like if and when, what happens, how, why, when it turns green. But regardless, I mean, I say if we look at Solana when it was green on weekly time frame for the Gaussian channel, I say we're popping into those oversold regions, but maybe that plays out towards next year. Because when it goes oversold that much, we're looking at quite the extension, not even extension, just continuation, indicative of bull market activity. We're kind of oversold on the weekly RSI here. But I say this can be just the beginning, really. We can come back down and just establish support on the weekly RSI. Retest that signal line in correlation with some other benefactors, beneficiaries for the price, like, establishing good support at maybe like 54, or fuck, just getting a better Fibonacci reading on, let's say, the 5-day time frame. Um, if we go back to the 5-day, let's say if we do need to come down, okay, let's say from the lowest move of $17 from, or no, from the start of the move at $17, from the high local high at 68. If we come back down and we even need to test potentially that 38.2, which is like, we don't have to, but we easily can. Then I say, okay, sure, because 5-day time frame, taking that $47 price target back to the weekly, and then I guess that could correlate with the RSI cool down slightly, so that would be not bad. But we don't need to see necessarily like just ultra continuation right now. I say we could find support, chop sideways, and then break out. I say that probably is more bullish than anything, because if we do come back down on some sort of event, we know where there's going to be bids. Um, it's not necessarily that I'm trying to compare these two different time frames like they have to converge, but I'd say support is support until it's not, even if it's on a lower time frame. So I mean, yeah, it kind of does correlate a little bit. Moving the fuck on. I'm sorry if I explained that part badly. Trying to do my best here, but moving the fuck on. I say what would actually be ultra bullish right here for Solana is I want to see a couple key things, a few key things. So we're gonna look at the Gaussian channel on the 2 week time frame. So same range of gap that we have to get past, but key level here is on the 2 week time frame. I have the high to the low Fibonacci retracement tool. 23.6 retracement level at 67.45. Right. So flip above that resistance into support. And not only that, going through the box of the region from $60 to potentially 75 to 85, or was it 80 in that region? And then we test the top of the Gaussian channel line, which I think would be a massive bullish indicator if we can get all these three things in correlation with the Gaussian channel top line flipped as support from resistance. And then we would be looking at higher price ranges at 104 if we look at the Fibonacci level, 133, probably on a longer time frame, as it really depends on what Bitcoin does. But when we get to this correlation of events where we get past this box, where we get past this old range of Fibonacci, let's just say Fibonacci extension, Fibonacci retracement level, that hasn't really even been tested yet, but is currently right now coming in as resistance. So I say beyond recent price action in the past, up until recently, this wasn't really tested like that. It was just kind of a region in the box. And out of anything, we didn't even have it as a region to test because we didn't have this high to the low at $8. So there's that. Um, I say beyond that though, that's something I'm looking into, just keeping track of. So just to recap here, on the 2 week time frame, Gaussian channel, flip, um, center line as support, moving beyond the price of 65, 62, 68 into the box range, or back into the box range, even though it really starts at $60. But just for simplicity's sake, moving back into that range, flipping that 23.6, eventually heading up higher, testing that top line of the Gaussian channel on the 2 week time frame, and then holding that as support, holding that top of that box range of support, and then looking for that range breakout from the Gaussian channel, testing 104 Fibonacci, testing 133, and then hopefully at that point we see green flip on the Gaussian channel for bullish continuation and further signaling that we're in a bull market as it's playing out. Because in my opinion, it's not necessarily a bull market because we need to see bullish price action as in a massive uptrend. I say it's more of a bull market slash transition from accumulation phase because we know the bottom is in for Solana and a lot of these altcoins. So thank you guys for watching this video, or if you tune in, the space is recorded. I'm trying to get more organized. I'm probably going to try to make these more complex videos a weekly thing, just because I feel like constantly trying to figure out what's something every day to make a video on when I only track the weekly, 2 week, monthly time frame, and I track the 3 day daily only when it's relevant to something playing out as it's already playing out or about to play out. I don't think you need to continuously track things if they don't change, like on the daily time frame. Because what's the point of me coming on here and saying, oh, Bitcoin symmetrical triangle for the past 5 days, when really I only need to cover it a few times and the breakout or breakdown, right? And that correlation on a larger time frame into 2 weeks, 1 month, etc., etc. Right. So if you've enjoyed this spaces of crypto news and crypto TA, or if you've been watching this YouTube video so far on what we're doing in these markets, I just want to ask you to subscribe, like, share everything, because here at Capital Gentlemen, we're here um, trying to basically, as a men's lifestyle brand, um, how do I phrase this? I'm just gonna actually I'm not even gonna phrase it. I'm just gonna go back to the kind of point that I'm trying to make, which is the banner, I guess, of Capital Gentlemen. Wealth simplified, fitness, prosperity, mastery. Mastering that wealth right now by getting the information so we can simplify the data on our liquidity allocations, right? Prosperity mastery, using all these other tools for our benefit, like our increasing wealth as what we're allocated to gives us more opportunity, and making sure our mindset stays sharp with fitness and just mindset shit. Uh, even incorporating respecting and not forgetting God as you proceed to get more and more money. Although, we struggle with sin, depending on what you believe in. Um, Even though sometimes I say fucked up out of pocket shit on my fucking personal, I still at the end of the day have to sit down and be like Jesus is Lord and not forget that shit. Or if I can't promote being Muslim, I can't do that just because that would be forsaking my God. But whatever you choose to go with was what I'm saying. Make sure you don't forget your God. As long as it's not fucking Satan, like legitimately. I don't have a problem with you on a personal basis, but you know, just whatever you believe in, just make sure that you're respecting the higher power that you believe is giving you the opportunity that you believe is happening. Now, I literally can't tell you to go seek a different higher power because that's me not being faithful to my shit. But it's the same way you can't go outside and say if you were Muslim, if you let's say if you were Muslim, right? You can't go out and tell me, you know, uh to not seek, Allah, if you want to say it like that. But if you get what I'm saying, I can't tell you to seek some shit ultra specific to what I believe in, but we all fucking know there's a higher power that we have to respect beyond wealth, beyond all these other things. Um, I think that's what I'm trying to say here, right? Um, wages profit nothing in the day of wrath. I'm not gonna sit on here and be like, I'm, you know, I'm not gonna sit on here and be like I'm I don't know. Like I need to get better at, I'd say, being more in touch with separating wealth from God, but I don't put wealth above God, although I focus on it a lot. I just know it's something necessary for my situation right now if I'm going to do anything with my life. But even with that, you got to still depend on God in order to have all these things, because these are all creations of a higher power. So I say, let's even end it with the prayer. God, it's been a while since I've prayed, but I guess since we're trying to do better with all these things in life and not abuse them, I guess it's only appropriate to ask you for guidance and wisdom and discipline on how to manage these things that we're trying to grow for ourselves here at Capital Gentlemen, and being an inspiration and not a fucking disc. Oh shit! I just so just swore to prayer, not being a disgrace to society. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry that it's a fucking habit. I'm sorry. Sorry. But yeah, just not being a disgrace and hopefully honoring and not, disgracing you with all these things that you may allow us to get, but not putting them above you. Um, just give us wisdom and guidance, and allow us to do good with these works. Although that doesn't equal salvation, with our short time here, we can still do good with what we've got. So I'm going to end it there. Capital Gentlemen, men's lifestyle brand focused on godly living, financial, mental, and fitness mastery. If any of you need improvement on your mental health, what I recommend to you is don't even focus on money. Focus on just the basic things that you need in order to make not necessarily you happy, but for your life to be where you want on a longer time frame. Because what makes you happy isn't necessarily what you need to do, but what is going to give you fulfillment and not lead you into depression is shit that you need to do on a daily basis that builds up over time and give you and you use delayed gratification, not give you delayed gratification. Well, maybe both. But anyways, all right, I'm gonna end it here. I'm going to end it here. I'll see you guys later, capital gentlemen.